Clouds have always been my source of dopamine. There is something about watching them drift, change, and dance with the light that fills me with quiet joy. But as an artist, I find constantly chasing these fleeting sky moments, and somehow they always find a way into my paintings. They remind me of how deeply I'm connected to nature, how beauty often lies in the most transient, overlooked things. And that love, that wonder is what I try to pour into today's painting. Today's painting is actually inspired by a reference I shared in one of my latest Skillshare classes. Some of my lovely students messaged me asking if I could turn it into a full tutorial, and I thought, why not? So here I am with a full step-by-step tutorial. We began with by taping down a paper on all four sides, and now I'm selecting my colors and keeping two jars of clean water available with us, one for rinsing and one for creating clean mixes. Now let's start with a light pencil sketch, just a simple outline marking the horizon line and the distant hills in the background. Keep it gentle and minimal as we want to sketch to guide us without overpowering the painting. Once the sketch is in place, we will dive right into the sky using the wet on wet technique, which is perfect for creating those soft, dreamy transitions in the clouds. If you have ever felt unsure while painting skies, like struggling with water control, how to create softness, or just how to capture the emotion of a moment, then my Skillshare class might be just what you need. It's where I guide you through foundational techniques of watercolor skies, from avoiding common beginner mistakes to learning how to let your brush speak with freedom. You will find the link in the description box below if your heart is drawn to skies the way mine is and you are ready to take the next step in your watercolor journey. I would love for you to join me in there. I have laid down an even thorough layer of clean water over the area where we will be painting the sky. Now let's begin the magic with color. I'm preparing a soft pastel yellow mix using my Naples yellow and Jaune Brilliant number 2 for the horizon area of the sky. Notice how my brush is just damp, not too watery, and loaded it with a creamy medium tonal value of this paint mix. Learning to control the amount of water on your paper, brush, and in your paint mix is one of the most crucial skills when it comes to painting skies, or as a matter of fact, any subject in watercolor. And in my Skillshare class, I have dived deep into this through guided exercises and real-time examples to help you truly understand and master this concept. Now I'll begin adding a medium tonal value of opera pink just above the base layer of yellow, but I'm careful not to completely cover the yellow. Here observe how my brush is just damp enough, layering the opera pink just on top of that yellow, but I want some of that soft glow of yellow to shine through and create a beautiful transition. Now for the top part of the sky, I am filling in the remaining white spaces using a medium to light value of blue-gray mix. I'm applying it with a very light slanted strokes, gently blending it into the opera pink cloud area to create a soft seamless transition. Next, we will begin layering the purples and violets on top of the blue while the paper is still wet. This entire sky section needs to be completed while the surface remains damp. If the paper starts to dry, you will notice that the colors stop blending smoothly and begin to form patchy, uneven spots that can stand out as rough, dry, patchy marks. To achieve that soft, luminous look in the sky, it's important that all of this is done using the wet on wet technique. If you are working in a very hot and dry climate, consider using a humidifier or keeping a gentle misting spray nearby. This helps maintain the moisture level on your paper for a bit longer. While layering the purples and blues, I make sure that they do not come too much in contact with the yellow. You probably already know why, because they are complementary colors and when mixed directly, they can create dull or muddy tones. So a little spacing and timing here goes a long way in keeping the sky fresh and luminous. We will now let the sky dry completely, and in the meantime we will start working on the foreground, which is our wheat field. We will continue using the wet on wet technique here. We will begin by wetting the foreground starting from the bottom and gradually moving upward. Be careful not to add too much of water near the horizon line, as the water can start spreading upwards into the sky and disturb the layers we have just painted. Once the paper is evenly damp, we will start layering with raw sienna at the bottom using vertical slanted brush strokes to mimic the gentle sway of the wheat plants in the breeze. As we move towards the horizon, we will then switch to horizontal strokes for a smoother and more distant look. This creates the depth and softness as the field recedes into the distance. Now, using a damp dry brush loaded with a more intense tone of raw sienna, I will add a few vertical strokes at the bottom of the foreground just to build some volume and a sense of depth. Using that same brush and color, I'll move towards the center of the foreground, this time creating shorter vertical strokes to mimic the growth of the wheat plants. I am here using the slightly spread out tip of my mop brush here. It gives a lovely organic feel to the strokes. Don't worry if it all looks a little soft and flat at this stage. We will soon start adding darker tones of browns to really bring this wheat field to life. Observe how damp dry my brush is. The tip is frayed. It is just holding enough moisture at the tip to control the strokes, and I have loaded the frayed tip of the brush with a darker mix of burnt umber with a little touch of indigo. And now I am gently layering it over the base wash of raw sienna using slanted strokes. This step is a bit repetitive, but intentionally so. I keep varying the tones slightly in different areas to create a more naturalistic and organic look across the field. I am now adding a few darker tones of brown into the field. Even though I am using a fairly dry brush with a rich dark mix, notice how the strokes are still appearing soft and diffused. That's because our background is still slightly wet, so even though technically we are painting wet on dry, that is with a dry brush on wet paper, we are still able to achieve that beautiful softness in the strokes. This is the magic of controlled wet on wet technique. When you know how wet your paper is and how much paint your brush is holding, you can create subtle natural textures without losing control. Once I'm happy and satisfied with the overall feel of the wheat field and understand if the paper is still wet, I'll finish it off by adding a few water splatters at the bottom just to bring some textures and looseness and to give the field a beautiful spontaneous touch. While splattering, make sure to cover your sky or you might end up with some unexpected spots like this little one right here. But no worries, I'm going to turn it into a bird in the distance, which is a lovely way to add some character into the sky. Obviously, this step is completely optional. If you would like to add a few birds to enhance the composition, go ahead, or you can just simply leave the sky as it is for a cleaner and a more minimal look. Now I have started working on the background hills, and for this I am using the wet on dry technique. I am beginning with a very light watery mix of raw sienna as the base layer, but be mindful not to load your brush with too much of water. If it is too wet, it can start to seep into the sky above or the field below. This is a delicate area, so a little caution goes a long way. Next, I'll begin adding darker tones of brown, or you could also use a little bit of neutral tint or your indigo to suggest depth and distant foliage. But notice I'm not covering the top edge of the hill with this darker tones. I want the warm glow of that raw sienna to show through, hinting at the soft light of the setting sun touching the top of the trees. I have added some trees to the left corner of the hill just to bring in a little bit more of depth and natural variation to the landscape. These small additions help break the uniformity and make the scene feel more organic and alive. And if you're done with this step, we have almost come to the end of this painting. We will let our paper dry completely and then we will peel off our masking tapes. Our paper has dried completely, so now we will gently peel off the tape at an 45-degree angle to reveal those clean, crisp edges. Always such a satisfying moment, isn't it? If you try out this painting and decide to share it on Instagram or Facebook, don't forget to tag me at the rate of neilsrc_cove. I would absolutely love to see your version, share your work, and help you out with any questions you may have. That's all for today. I'll see you again next time.